interviewing Clara Ayres, who's been a long-time member of the church, and her family was helping to found the church. So Clara, tell me about your family background.
Okay, my grandparents, who were Henry and Mary Borcherding, and Mary's parents, the Schraders, I think Charles, his name on this plaque only says C. I think it was Charles Schrader. They owned property in Hooks, down along the Red River bottoms, where Ramage Farms and Hart Construction is at this time. And at that time, there was no Lutheran church, there was no Methodist church or Baptist church or Episcopal church. So they helped organize the first, what they called a community church. We would call it non-denominational today. But it was built, or it was a building on the Red River Army Depot at that time. And this was about 1910. So back before this 100th anniversary date. When Red River bought the property and started the munitions plant, they had to move off that property, and several other churches were established there in Hooks, the Methodist, the Baptist. Well, Granddaddy and Granddaddy Schrader, Granddaddy Borcherding Schrader, decided at that point to move to Texarkana, and that's when the Fourth and Hazel Church was organized. My dad is Lloyd Borcherding. He was the last born of that family. I have a picture here. My dad is Lloyd. Lloyd and Floyd were the twins of Mary and Henry. They were the babies of that bunch. Wilbur is who we call Uncle Butch. Aunt Clara was their older sibling. She was 15 years older than Dad and Uncle Floyd, and really took care of the twins.
Wow.
She played the big sister. She sent them both to Texas A&M, which was a really big deal in those days, because not very many farm boys got to go to college. So Aunt Clara made sure the twins got to go to school. Okay, Hubert was the oldest boy of the bunch. Mary, my grandmother, Henry, my grandfather. Okay, I'm going to have to get my glasses on here. Julia and Lucy were grandmother Borcherding's sisters. So the Barras on here go back to grandmother Borcherding's siblings.
So is this plaque of the founding people?
Yes, this says first membership. I always call it the charter members.
Okay.
I don't know if there's a difference.
Yeah.
But yes, this is dated 24.
So you're just kin to just almost all of
I'm
them.
kin to just about everybody. So the Borcherdings on this side I'm kin to. The Barras I'm kin to. I don't know Melton or Portia, but the Schraders here, those are all my people. Aunt Essie, Uncle George, Uncle John. These are grandmother Borcherding, Mary's siblings and parents. The only other people, well, Aunt Edna Watlington, she was a sister of Mary. The only other people I know of the present day church is Ted Thamert. Ted Thamert, his parents were instrumental in organizing the church, and I can't remember his sister. Her name's not on here, but Dad always referred to her fondly as Aunt so-and-so or Sister so-and-so. So anyway, yes, these are all my family members. My dad married Bonnie Norton. Bonnie was from the Red Lick community, and they married late in life. They were both 30 when they married, so that would have been 1948. I came along in 1949. I have a brother, James. He's 4 years younger than I. He turned 66 yesterday on August 31st. Let me see, what else? Aunt Clara was very big in the church. She passed away 28 years ago. and left money for a children's youth center, and that is presently in use. We're enjoying it, and she would be tickled to death to know that money was put to good use.
It took us forever to decide how to do it.
Yes.
The church finally did it.
We did.
We went to the deadline, didn't we?
Yes, we did. I mean, it had to be used within 25 years after her death, and I think we probably started that month.
24 and a half years
yeah,
later.
yeah. Right. So my family goes back a long way.
And your children, who did you marry?
I married Harold Ayres. He was a high school sweetheart. Great elementary school. I don't know. Junior high, I guess, is when we started hanging out.
And he was from Hooks, too?
He was from Red Lick, the Red Lick community. Graduated from Hooks. Was a great basketball player. Our kids, and he went through confirmation here under Pastor Hillberg.
Is that after you married or before you married?
That was before we married. I guess it wasn't called confirmation, adult instruction class, I guess, at that time. But he did join the church. He was formerly Methodist. Our kids are Ashley. Ashley's married to Dave Wilcox. They live in Atlanta. Their kids are Mary Claire and Will. My middle daughter is Whitney. She's married to Vickers Fuquay. Her kids are Bella Fuquay and Ayres. Right after Harold died of Alzheimer's in 2007. He was sick for 7 years. He was diagnosed in 2000. But right after he passed away, Whitney was pregnant, and she came to me and she said, "Mama, do you think it would make my daddy happy if I named this little boy Ayres?" And I said, "I think it would tickle him to death." So we have an Ayres Fuquay. Then my youngest child is Bo Ayres. He's Harold Ayres Jr. He's married to Kelsey Jordan. It's funny, the Jordans went to church with us in El Dorado some 30 years ago, 35 years ago, and we knew them there at that church. Harold taught Sunday school there, and he was teaching probably the 2 and 3 year olds, and Kelsey remembers Mr. Harold pulling her nose off with his and getting the thumb between the finger. So that's her first memory of Harold Ayres. And she said, "I can't remember anything else, but I do remember he would pull my nose off." So they
That's
go
quite
back.
unusual for y'all to be teaching the
2 and 3 year olds, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
So anyway, they have 2 boys. Trip is Harold Lee III, and their new baby is a year old, and his name is Griff, and that's named after my grandfather Norton, Griff Norton, my mother's father. Okay.
Wow.
How about
What a
that?
family. What a family. Okay. Let me go. I'm gonna have to skip some questions. Describe the church buildings when you first attended the Lutheran Church.
When I first started Sunday school at the church on 4th and Hazel, it was the old building, old style building, an aisle down the center, pews on each side, relatively small, the altar area raised. And some people have compared it to, if you turn it upside down, it could float like a ship, because it was a V-neck roof, and there were big wooden boulders or planks or rafters, I guess.
Yeah.
And they said if you flipped it upside down, it would float just like a ship, and that's what I remember. Stained glass windows, very, very pretty, but very, very small.
And it's located in downtown Texarkana.
Downtown Texarkana.
And I believe it's been used by the Salvation Army
It is.
at this time.
It is. It's a Salvation Army building at this time, and it's a brick structure which replaced a former wooden structure. And when they tore down the wooden structure and hauled off the wood and debris, they also hauled off the cornerstone, a very nice marble or some sort of stone, cornerstone. And Sue Edzards was instrumental in recovering that several years back, 3 or 4 years back. And it is on display in front of the youth building today. And it says 1919. It's is abbreviated EV, Evangelical Lutheran Church. So that goes way, way, way back,
Oh,
and
wow.
Sue helped us get that. So
What, was there a bell, is the bell that they're talking about, was it on that church?
my dad hopes that's the story. My dad located that on a plantation down in Miller County and recovered that, bought the bell from some person down in Miller County. It's all on record, it's in the office. And Dad had that bell restored, and it's now being used in front of the church. Bill Strobel helped him get that bell in place and helped him haul it. They were both getting up in age when that happened. Aunt Clara was instrumental in securing that bell. So we hope that's the original bell, but I can't say that for a fact.
What made him think that it was the original bell? Was there something on it, or?
I have no clue.
Yeah.
Like I said,
It's just-
somebody interviewed him, and there's a story. I think it was put in the newsletter one year. It's probably in the office, but I can't tell you.
Okay, how have you been involved in First Lutheran Church?
Well, I
Have you
was
held
involved.
every office there is?
No, I've not. I just, I went to Sunday school. I went to Sunday school. Pastor Helberg was my preacher. He married my mother and daddy. He baptized me. He took me through instruction class. He married Harold and I, and then he baptized. No, he didn't baptize my babies. Never mind it. No,
No.
he did not. We were out of town at that time. But he was just super, super, super involved in my early years at the church. I was in Sunday school. I was in youth group. That was called Walther League back in the day. We didn't do anything extravagant like the kids do today. We didn't get to take trips and such as that. But we did have fun and different events. I remember the Christmas pageants, having to memorize parts for the Christmas play. I remember VBS, that was always fun. I was nursery helper. I'm sure I've taught Sunday school, but I was away for 25 years. Harold got a job in Smackover, Arkansas, so he was coaching basketball, and I was teaching English and Spanish in Smackover, and we ended up staying there 25 years. So I did not come back to town until 1994. So I've just reestablished, the last 25 years, the new people in the church. And there are a lot of new people that weren't here when I left.
So what offices have you held since you've been back?
I think I was president one year, okay, and I've been on different committees, but I can't think of anything
lots and lots of
specific.
things in church.
Well, I have.
What are your fondest memory? What is a fondest memory, or a couple
I
of them?
have a ton of fond memories, and they're the old church people, and I have a list, so I'm going to have to look at my cheat sheet right now. Let me see if I can tell you some stories. Okay, some of my earliest memories of the old timers are Ruth Clements. Ruth was precious and just a super example of a good Christian lady. That's Huey's mother, Huey and Jean. Catherine Aaron, Linda Sue's mother. I loved Miss Aaron, and she was precious. And my daddy loved her too. He loved Miss Catherine. Ewald Byers. Ewald Byers lived behind, and I can't think of his wife's name, but anyway, they were very instrumental in the early church. Ewald Byers is Ruth Ann's father. Ruth Ann Sturgeon. Yes, that's Ruth Ann's father, and they lived very, very near my grandparents. And when Dad went to World War II, Ruth Ann cried and wanted to know why he had to go and when would he be back. And Daddy loved telling that story of sweet Ruth Ann.
Are the Byers on that founding?
No, they're not. So I don't know what year they
They-
came in.
okay.
I do not know what year. Miss Folks, my goodness, Miss Folks was my Sunday school teacher.
Bracelets.
Just precious, precious. This is John Folks' mother, Roberta's mother-in-law. The Droughts family. The Droughts family were a German family. His father was military, very strong, old school German, very strict. George is the only one that comes to church now, but that was an instrumental family at the time. Henry and Walsey Spangenberg. These people didn't do anything specific to make me remember them. They were just always in their pew. They were always at the communion rail. They were always involved in VBS, Christmas plays, all such stuff as that. The Holly family, Gerda's parents, Gerda and Margaret and Fritz, and I don't remember the baby boy because he came along later. Just always there. Gerda was in my confirmation class. Jim and Virginia Bradshaw, James, Karen, Janice, David. Karen Bradshaw was in my brother James's confirmation class. Just good Christian people. Judy and Fred Hanson, Michelle and Freddie. Miss Judy had the dance studio in town. She was like a celebrity. She was like a special shining star because she had the big dance recital every year, and that was always fun. And of course, there probably have been hundreds of kids from this church who danced for Miss Judy. The Bretthauers, I don't remember their first names. The son was James Bretthauer, and he was several years older than I. Margaret Bretthauer?
I don't know. No.
Red and Marcia Williams, they were always here. Their son Rodney was a couple years older than I. The Ted Thamer family, again, they just always been here. And then Ted had some rough years and was not involved in the church, and he was unashamedly he would tell you that he messed up and made mistakes, and came back. He came back to church, and he knew he was forgiven, and he wrote poems about it, and he would tell you just unashamedly that God will take you back. He's a loving God, and he likes for his lost sheep to come back. Mrs. Barth. Mrs. Barth came from the Falk area, the Genoa area, and Denny has told me that he and his brother Terry were not able to come to church for many years because they had no car. Very limited resources. So he tells that fondly, that they were so glad to be able to have a car and come to church. Helen and Herb Larson, Pam, Patty, Jerry, all of those people, they just were always there. They were always in church. I have to tell you a funny story about Miss Helen. My daddy loved her. He loved Miss Erin. So one Christmas, he decided to get them poinsettias for Christmas. And he had them loaded up in the car, and I was visiting with him one evening, and he said, "Sister, go out and put a little water in those plants so they'll be pretty tomorrow when I give them to Miss Catherine and Miss Helen." And I went outside to check on them, and I came back in and I said, "Daddy, those flowers are going to be fine in the morning. They're silk flowers." He had no idea. He had just picked out some pretty poinsettias and was going to make sure those two ladies had a surprise the next morning. Miss Norma Richter, she was always there in that pew. That's Ed's stepmother, right?
Yeah.
Stepmother. And Sue's mother-in-law, yes. Lynn and Jean Lowe and Ruthie, they were always here. They had to drive a pretty good distance every Sunday morning, further than most of us drive. And I remember Mother and Dad going out to their property and to couples club. They had couples club meetings, and they would eat supper out there and enjoy the property on what I call the plantation. It was such a beautiful place. The Hoback family, Miss Doris's family. Ben, her son, was in my confirmation class. I didn't know the girls as well because they were all younger. The Hotop family, Roger was in my brother's confirmation class. He had a sister named Patty, and he is now a Lutheran pastor. He's the only pastor I can think of that this church has produced. Harry and Carol Kogel. Harry was my Sunday school teacher down at 4th and Hazel. I remember him very well. He always brought a funny paper, a cartoon, and used it as part of the lesson. That sticks in my mind. Doc and Muriel Kunkel, always here, always helpful. Al and Joe Mildy. Al just passed away not too long ago. They are no longer members here, but when I was growing up, they were always here. The Franz, it looks like Franz, but I think we call it Franz. And I don't remember the elders' names. I remember Emmy Lou was a couple years older than I. The Edzards, the Hildebrandts, those people, they were just always here. I've left out a lot of names of the current members, but these are the old school members that I remember mostly. Okay, moving right along.
I'll add, this, he'll probably cut this out, but there's another family that produced a guy, man that's
Pastor?
produced Dick Lash.
Lash, that's right, the
There's
Lash family.
Lash is, I can't remember.
I
Miss
can't
Lash's name,
either, but
there's
that happened in the years when I was gone,
Yes, figured
so I
that.
don't
I
remember
figured
it.
that.
Yeah.
I don't know if there are any more, there might be, and I just
Yeah.
don't know either. What was the youth group like when you?
Well, it was
were
very
in?
small. It was very, very small. Like I said, it was
You remember any names? of people?
Gerda and Michelle Hanson, Gerda Holly, Michelle Hanson, Ben Hoback. Sandy Leonard was, I think, a year or two younger than I, but Sandy is Linda and Debbie's older sister, and she was here and involved in youth groups, but I don't remember any specific things that happened. It's been too long ago.
When did you? What did they meet on Sunday nights, or when did you meet?
I can't even remember that.
Yeah.
No. I know it was
Too
there.
many things have happened.
Too many things. Way too many things.
With the church services, were they any different than they are now?
Much more formal. I know there was a lot of getting up and down. That's been cut out a little bit. But all the pastors wore robes. There was not a service that went by that the pastor was not dressed in a robe. Just more solemn, I think. I think we've become more and more relaxed in our services now. And adding the contemporary music, that was unheard of back in the day.
Yeah.
And most of us enjoy that contemporary music, the guitar, the drum, and all of that. But back in the old days, there was none of that. It was strictly liturgical stuff.
What are some challenges of our church that we need to?
Oh my
work
goodness, right now, I think the biggest challenge is, besides getting more people in, period, is getting our youth to come back. My children attend other churches. The Clements kids attend other churches. Your kids attend other churches. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I miss having our kids back at their home church, and I don't know how to solve that. If they marry a person of another faith, they're likely to go that direction. If we get some younger people in, having activities for them. There are no young people, and I'm talking about 18, 19, 20, Justin and Courtney. They're the only people in church their age, just.
Need to have some kind of organizational.
Right, we need to have something that will pull them in, and I don't know how to do that, or I would do it. And I'm sure Pastor also struggles with that. Let me talk about pastors just a minute. Let me go back. Pastor Helberg was here forever, and I thought he could walk on water. I didn't know there was much difference between Jesus Christ and pastor. That's how special he was, and I just considered him a very godly man. His wife was Emily. She died of cancer early on, and he ended up raising his son Steve basically by himself. Never remarried. I don't remember any of the pastors after that up until Braun. Pastor Braun was here when I came back. Pastor Cody married Ashley and Dave, baptized their babies. Kurt Schneider performed the funeral services for my mother in '02, my father in '05, and my husband in '07. So he's a special person in that respect. Just special people, and we are so grateful to have Scott Sunby here with us right now. We love him. He's doing his best to grow this church and see some changes. He's good with the youth. He's good with the old people. He visits. He makes hospital visits. He makes home calls. So much for the pastors.
So, I think we are done.
All right.
I think you did good.
Okay. I hope that wasn't too long.